yeah, we hold it down. Talk stats, talk facts, yeah, we give you the truth. From the vets to the young, yeah, we cover the truth. If you bleed orange and blue, then you already know. When the intro hit, it's time for the show. It's the Metropolitan Report.
Good evening, everybody. It's Alfred Jr. back with the Metropolitan Report. As you can see, we got a new presentation. We got an intro video. Technical difficulties on that intro video, but we got a intro video nonetheless. We got a brand new overlay, new graphics here on the Metropolitan Report. Again, technical difficulties booting up. I do apologize coming on here a couple of minutes late, but folks, it is time for some baseball. Now, we covered spring training, but it's time for the real thing. It is time once again for the regular season in Queens. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the 2026 Major League Baseball season. Before we continue on the show, just want to remind everybody to go down below. All the socials are below. We got the X, we got the Facebook, we got the Instagram, we have the YouTube. Tap in. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on X, ladies and gentlemen. The Metropolitan Report is here. The second consecutive season that we are doing this on video. We're live. We are LIVE live. Shout outs to my good friend, supporter of the show. By the way, this guy writes really good stuff on his YouTube channel. He has a lot of YouTube posts. That is my friend Drew Learned. He says he'll be on the stream and he's here. Intro looks good. I appreciate you, Drew, as always. Romy says no Pete Alonso intro. Unfortunately, Pete Alonso's in Baltimore. I have not followed him to Baltimore. This is a Mets program. You live and you learn. Life's about losses, you know, and how you come back from them. But we're here. 2026 season is in full effect. So, again, we are here on the Metropolitan Report, 1 day away from opening day. Opening day tomorrow, where the Mets open the season at home. 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm excited. For those of you who are going to be at Citi Field, I will be there tomorrow. The game is at 1:15. I'll be in the neighborhood by around 10 o'clock. So, again, if anybody wants to reach me, want to hang out, grab a beer, say hi, talk shop, you can go down below, message me wherever, Instagram, X, Facebook, and I will absolutely be thrilled to meet up with anybody who's coming on, who's going to be out tomorrow. As you can see, again, Citi Field is our new background here on the overlay. More than happy to meet anybody that is gonna be there. So again, yeah, we already got a couple people meeting up. Shout out to my guy Seth. Shout out to my guy L. Shout out to the homie Michelle and a couple of others. So yeah, we're gonna be live and in full effect. Citi Field tomorrow, 1:15 p.m. first pitch. This is gonna be my 7th opening day. And opening day is always, always, always a thrill, always a joy. And yeah, I can't wait. So we got a comment here from Romy. What you think the Mets record will be with the changes they made? We're going to get into that. But yeah, this Mets team, a completely different team in 2026. A lot of the old favorites, the Pete Alonsos, Edwin Diaz, Brandon Nimmo's, Jeff McNeil's, they're gone. The Mets made some big acquisitions in their place, traded for Freddie Peralta, signed Bo Bichette, traded for Marcus Semien, among others. Luis Robert Jr. Is the Mets' new center fielder. We're going to get into the roster construction and all that good stuff. But again, very excited for Mets baseball. A lot to talk about. You know what? Let's just get right into it. We're going to look at this Mets roster. We're going to pull it up here. This is the New York Mets roster, if you can see it. So we'll go over it. I apologize that the graphic does not take up the full screen. Whoever made that graphic made it to watch on a phone. But anywho, the pitchers, starting pitchers, we have Freddie Peralta, obviously, who is going to start opening day tomorrow. We've got David Peterson, Nolan McLean in the rotation, Clay Holmes and Kodai Senga. Bullpen arms, Huascar Brazaban, Luis Garcia, Richard Lovelady, one of the many run prevention specialists that David Stearns likes to keep employed. Tobias Myers, who came over in the Freddie Peralta deal. Sean Manaea, going to be in the bullpen. We'll talk about that in a bit. Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, and Devin Williams, both who came from the Yankees. Luke Weaver will be the setup man. Devin Williams, the closer. Catchers, Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens, no turnover from last season. Infielders, where we get a little interesting. Brett Beatty, who is going to be platooning some first base. Bo Bichette, Francisco Lindor, Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, Mark Vientos, and Jared Young, who can also double as a right fielder. And, of course, the outfielders, making his Major League debut tomorrow, Carson Benj. We'll get into that in a minute. Luis Robert Jr., Juan Soto, and Tyrone Taylor, who will be in a backup platoon role. So there you see the opening day roster. Pardon me. The 26 men making the trip from Port St. Lucie to Flushing. And yeah, a good group of guys. I mean, there are some question marks on this roster, but for the most part, not bad at all. By the way, I am answering your comments and questions. Feel free to write in, and we will talk about whatever you guys have in the comment section. So, this Mets roster, very interesting. The last two guys to make the team were Richard Lovelady and Jared Young. Very, very surprising. Just a quick recap of how it came down to the wire. Of course, the battle for the right field position spot went to Carson Benj. Kind of went to Carson by default. I mean, he did hit over 400 in spring training. He was battling with Mike Tauchman for the last spot. Mike Tauchman, of course, hurting his knee in the second to last Grapefruit League game in spring training. They're saying he has a torn meniscus. He's got to have surgery. No timetable for his return. So yeah, with Tauchman, according to sources, Mike Tauchman was going to make the team in a backup role. He gets hurt, so Carson Benj automatically gets the bid. And very telling what happened here, because with Tauchman gone, everybody thought that Vidal Brujan would be the backup infielder. They thought he would be a shoo-in, especially with Ronnie Mauricio being reassigned to minor league camp. He's going to start his season in Syracuse. Everybody thought, well, Vidal Brujan, he's gonna start the season at least on the Mets. Absolutely not. They gave that spot to Jared Young. Jared Young. Now, this is the interesting conundrum here, because Jared Young can play first base. He can also play left field and right field. So he's a guy you can plug him in at first base if Polanco needs a day off. You want to DH Polanco, have Jared Young in the slot. Brett Beatty, Jared Young is a lefty. But he got the spot due to Tauchman being hurt. Brujan got the heave-ho out of town. And the last spot in the bullpen went to Richard Lovelady, which was very shocking considering Lovelady's track record. The Mets, they signed Lovelady, they DFA him. They sign him, they DFA him. He goes to the Nationals, they DFA him. The Mets pick him back up. That's a guy who I thought definitely should have started the season in AAA. Very shocking that Craig Kimbrell, he beat Craig Kimbrell. Get this straight, folks. Richard Lovelady beat Craig Kimbrell for the last bullpen spot. It was Brian Hudson was also in the mix, but he fell off because as much as his work ethic can impress in spring training, it's not reasonable or sensible to have a guy start the season when he on the big league club when he had an ERA north of 11. That's right. north of 11. So, yeah, Richard Lovelady got the spot. Lovelady, a human pinata, a run prevention specialist, a David Stearns guy through and through. We'll see what happens with Richard Lovelady. A lot of people say that this is just a stopgap until AJ Minter can recover here. So again, that is your final New York Mets roster. We're gonna see how effective things can be. Again, we're gonna break down the roster. We're gonna break down the series against the Pirates, and we're gonna make some predictions. And again, keep your questions rolling in the chat. We are live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. So again, keep them coming here. As let me just check the chat. What's good? Oh, all right. Drew Learnt, my good friend Drew Learnt. He says, "What are my thoughts on the puzzling deal with the shortstop with the Mauricio option? He thought Brujan would be the backup, but was optioned today, and there is no current backup shortstop." All right, so I'm going to answer that question for you, Drew. Like I said, if you look at the infielders that the Mets have on their roster now, Bo Bichette is a shortstop by trade. So he technically can spell Lindor if he needed to. Brett Beatty is a third baseman by trade. Vientos a third baseman by trade. So I think there's going to be a lot of moving parts in the season, especially with guys need rest. Depending on the pitching matchups, Vientos is a righty. Beatty is a lefty. Polanco is a third baseman by trade. If you plug Jarrett Young at first, maybe Polanco will go to third if he's not DHing. So I think they just want some flexibility. That's just my opinion. 1 second, we got to tell the good folks over on Facebook for some reason they're having technical difficulties. There we go. All right, so we're up and running on we're up and running on Facebook. But yeah, so that's that, Drew. I would imagine all this infield flexibility. Unless somebody gets hurt, there was really no need for Brujan. If somebody gets hurt, Ronnie Mauricio is the better of the two. So there's your answer in my honest opinion. So going back to what we was talking about, all right, this roster construction. So we're gonna go through it. If you look at the roster again, Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens, I have no issue at catcher. Same squad as last year. In Syracuse, Austin Barnes, the two-time World Series champion, winning catcher with the Dodgers in 2020 and 2024. He took his demotion to Syracuse. He and Hayden Sanger will be the catchers down there if anybody gets hurt up here. The infielders, no problem with Brett Beatty, no problem with Bo Bichette. No problem with Francisco Lindor. Lindor, as long as there's no natural disaster, act of God, or catastrophic injury, Lindor is gonna man shortstop every game this season. Francisco Lindor, and we have a video on the YouTube channel from a couple of days ago. I have to reiterate, it is just miraculous, just absolutely miraculous that shortly before spring training, it was found out that Lindor had a broken hamate bone in his fielding hand, and he was able to come back in the 6-week time frame. The Mets said, "Don't worry." David Stern said, "Don't worry. He's going to be good to go opening day." We made a video a couple of weeks back when spring training was in the thick of things in Port St. Lucie, and I went to Port St. Lucie myself to check out the Mets in some spring training action, and they had Ronnie Mauricio and Vidal Brujan at shortstop. And, they were preparing for the worst in case Lindor wouldn't have been available. And what do you know? Lindor is going to be available. So for once, the incomparable David Stearns lives up to his word. He told the people, "Don't worry." And, Lindor, he's going to start tomorrow at shortstop for this New York Mets ball club. So good to see Francisco Lindor. Also, Jorge Polanco, of course, first baseman / DH. Marcus Semien, he's going to man second base. They traded for the guy, so they have to play him. Mark Vientos is a question mark here. He's a head scratcher. It's been no secret that the Mark Vientos of 2024 has been nowhere to be found since. We saw quite a few Mets players: Juan Soto, Clay Holmes, Nolan McLean, among others in the World Baseball Classic. They had decent to great showings. And then you go to Mark Vientos, who played for Nicaragua and had a horrid World Baseball Classic. Had a very horrid spring training. Now, spring training is not an indicator of things because we've seen guys in the past. We've seen guys have horrible spring trainings. Regular season comes and they're all good to go. But Mark Vientos, it's like he's fallen off of a cliff. The same Mark Vientos who was part of that OMG 2024 Cinderella Story Mets team that got to the NLCS. I don't know what happened to this guy. Might have lost his confidence along the way. Maybe something happened. I have no idea. But this is not the same Swaggy V that we've come to know and love on the Mets. I just don't know. But Mark Vientos, a lot to prove. If this team is contending, he may be used as bait elsewhere. So you never know. But again, Swaggy V, Mark Vientos, he's not going to be a starter, at least probably not opening day. I don't foresee it. Yeah, Mark Vientos. Yeah, Mark Vientos, I just don't. I hope that he could bounce back in a limited role this season. And you're saying that this guy, he's only been in the bigs a couple of years. He's too young to have been given up on already. Of course, made his MLB debut at the end of 2022 with a little cup of coffee. Been around since 23. But Mark Vientos, he's got a. I guess because of his defense is already poor. So that's one thing. The defense being poor is one thing. But when your defense is poor and your bat is flat, I mean, what more can we say? So that's why he's in a platoon role. That's why he's in a platoon role. And barring some type of injury, I don't foresee him getting many at bats early on in the season. And then we have Jared Young, who again got one of the final roster spots. I think because Mike Tauchman got hurt with the meniscus tear. And by the way, we send our well wishes to Mike Tauchman. Hope you get well soon. Have a good recovery. But because Mike Tauchman got hurt, that opened up a free spot. And the Mets just said, you know what? We have a bunch of infielders on this roster. Beatty, Bichette, Lindor, Polanco, Simeon, Vientos, and Young make 7. There was no room or no need for Vidal Brujan. And like I said, if Ronnie Mauricio, who was sent down to AAA to start the season, if somebody gets hurt, Ronnie Mauricio is the better player than Brujan. He has the better upside and the better potential. We'll go get Ronnie and call him up, and Brujan will bye-bye. So long. Thank you for coming to spring training. It was a pleasure having you make errors on the diamond for us in Grapefruit League action. So Jared Young, again, a lefty bat. He did hit a couple of home runs last season. Not a guy who's going to get much playing time. A once in a while guy, but again, Jared Young on the team to start the year. So Jared Young, again, returning. He was in camp. He was no shoo-in to make the team, but Jared Young in camp nonetheless. Then we go to the outfielders. Mind you, Jared Young also has added value, as Jared Young also can double as a left or a right fielder. He could be a corner outfielder. So if Soto or Benj need a day off and Taylor has to play center if Robert can't go, then you could plug in Jared Young in one of those corner outfield spots. So not unlike Mike Talkman, who was just a pure outfielder, Jared Young does provide you with some type of bench depth as he can play first base, left, and right. Then we go to outfielders. Of course, Luis Robert Jr., they traded for him. His body is not up to 100%, but I imagine he will platoon with Tyrone Taylor. Tyrone Taylor, up until the trade deadline last season, was the everyday center fielder after Jose Siri went down, and then the Mets went and got Cedric Mullins, and that cut into Taylor's playing time. The Mets went to arbitration with Taylor, so no shock he made the team. Had a couple of home runs in spring training. Juan Soto moving from right to left. There's same thing with Lindor. Unless there is some act of God or natural disaster, Juan Soto was always going to make this team. Everyday player, 40-30 from last year. I have nothing else to say on that. Juan Soto, El Pacheco is Pacheco. And then we have Luis Robert Jr., like we just mentioned, and then Carson Benj, who won the right field spot. Phenomenal spring. The kid hit over 400. Will be making his major league debut tomorrow afternoon against Pittsburgh. Here's the hope that he could win Rookie of the Year. I don't think Benj is going to be a 300 hitter, but I think Benj could probably finish the season 250 or better. Carson Benj is not gonna be a guy to give you 30 home runs, but I think he could be an RBI machine given where he's hitting in the lineup. He'll probably be toward the lower end of the lineup. He'll be a guy that you look to turn the order over once you reach the end of the batting order and you got the top coming up. Carson Benj, I believe, you look around, like there are a couple of rookies on opening day rosters. Carson Benj is not the only one. I know J.J. Weatherholt of the St. Louis Cardinals. He made the Cardinals opening day roster. Kevin McGonigal, he made the shortstop for the Tigers. He made their opening day roster. Bubba Chandler, who the Mets, he'll be on the opposition for the Mets. He makes the Pirates roster. Carter Jensen, the catcher for the Royals, he makes their roster. Sal Stewart for the Reds. So there are a lot of rookies. There are a lot of rookies that are going to make their major league debuts this weekend. So I'm again Carson Benj. He had a great camp. He did a lot of the things that you look for in a major leaguer. Carson Benj, a guy who's very patient at the plate. He knows how to work counts. He shows a level of maturity at the plate. He battles. He's not a guy who's going to strike out on three or four pitches. Again, Carson Benj, he has the poise of a veteran. He has the poise of a veteran when he's at the plate. Like I said, very patient, doesn't swing at bad pitches, at least what I've seen in Grapefruit League action, and he works counts. If I had to be a betting man, I think that Carson Benj will finish in at least the top 3 voting for the Rookie of the Year, if not win it all. Like I said, he's going to be a guy. He's going to be a contact guy. He's going to be a guy who, instead of striking out like the norm is in a lot of these situations, he'll be a guy that'll put the ball in play. I'm projecting that he's going to be a 250 hitter this season. And again, and he has a cannon defensively. If you go back and look at our spring training vlog number 2 on the YouTube channel, Carson Benj, a heck of a defensive play when he gunned out. He didn't gun him out, but he got the ball. He took a deep fly ball, got the ball back into the catcher with a man on third for the Astros, and that was Nick Allen. And Nick Allen couldn't score on a deep sac fly. So complete cannon from one Carson Benj. So yeah, Carson Bench, I'm very confident in. I expect a great season out of that young man, barring some type of injury. Again, he most likely will hit 8 or 9, but again, he's going to be a guy who's going to turn the lineup over. This is what you could expect. Carson Bench had a great collegiate career at Oklahoma State. Tore it up everywhere he went in the minors, with the exception of Syracuse, where he was injured for that 24-game stint. Tore it up in Brooklyn, tore it up in St. Lucie, tore it up in Binghamton. And again, he carried himself like a major league veteran this camp, according to Carlos Mendoza, and he earned that right field spot. I know I said that I would have liked to have seen Talkman get the spot, but Talkman got hurt. But again, he was even outproducing veteran Mike Talkman. So Carson Bench, if you have not seen this young man play at any level of minors, you are in for a show. The kid is a throwback. Like I said, not going to be a guy that strikes out often. Works counts, is very patient at the plate. Doesn't really defensive swing a lot, if you know what that means. He's not a guy who, is once he has 2 strikes on him, or he's in an 0-2 count, 1-2 count, he's gonna be afraid. So, Carson Bench is gonna be that kid is gonna be great. And like I said, barring some injury or natural disaster or act of God, I expect Carson Bench to contend for Rookie of the Year. Moving on in this Mets roster, we're going to go over to the bullpen. So the bullpen is going to consist of Huascar Brazoban, Luis Garcia, Richard Lovelady, Sean Manaea, Tobias Myers, Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams. Now, you look at this bullpen, and I have mixed feelings on the bullpen, because Devin Williams, we'll start with the closer, the most important guy in the bullpen. Devin Williams was a guy who was a closer in Milwaukee. Then comes 2024 in the NLDS. The wild card round, excuse me. Mets Brewers. Pete Alonso comes up, and that was the shot that saved Pete Alonso's Mets tenure for another year and saved the Mets season, where he hit that monstrous home run, the go-ahead home run off of Devin Williams. And since then, Devin Williams has been shook. In 2025 last season, he was traded to the Yankees for Nestor Cortez before the season started. Began the season as their closer and lost the job. Devin Williams a year ago had to platoon with Luke Weaver at points to close out games. Devo, last season, now career-wise, he's at great numbers. But again, last season he went 4-6 with a 4.79 ERA. Not really numbers that you would want out of your closer. Devin Williams looking to rebound this season. He's had an inconsistent spring, but he's a David Stearns guy. David Stearns was the one who gave him his big league call-up in the COVID-shortened season of 2020 when he won that NL Rookie of the Year. Devo, I'm willing to give Devo a chance. You look at his resume. He made his MLB debut August 7th, 2019, was a Brewer for 2019 to 2024, a Yankee last season, a 2-time All-Star in 2022 and 23, 2-time reliever of the year in 2020 and 2023, made the All-MLB second team in 2020 and a Rookie of the Year in 2020, and plenty of playoff experience does Devin Williams have. Again, it was just unfortunate that he just imploded in New York. Career numbers, win-loss record 31-16, 2.45 career ERA, 465 strikeouts, 86 saves in his career. But again, he just last season he was in the bright lights of New York, and now I know what some people are going to say. Well, the Mets play in Queens, the Yankees play in the Bronx. It's the same market. The media is the same media. The only difference between us and them is that they have Michael Kay and Paul O'Neill, and we have Gary, Keith, and Ron. But otherwise, it's the same newspaper reporters, the same news channels, the same interviewers from the TV stations are the same. You're literally a half hour down the highway by a connecting bridge. So Devin Williams has already shown that he's had trouble in the big market of New York. The next question is, can he handle New York, or was last season telling us who he really has become? So that's the question there. But again, it remains to be seen what we're going to see out of Devin Williams. What version of Devin Williams are we going to get? Are we going to get Yankees Devin Williams, or are we going to get Brewers Devin Williams? Brewers Devin Williams prior to October 2024 was one of the greatest closers in our generation. But like I said, then Pete Alonso broke him, and he remained broken last season. So hopefully, and now mind you, we go from a guy like Edwin Diaz, and I know he's a Dodger, and I miss him, and I wish him well. But last season, we go from a closer with a 1.63 ERA to a closer with a 4.79 ERA. So if the Mets get the Yankees version of Devin Williams, we're in trouble. If they get Milwaukee prior to October 2024, Devin Williams, we're golden. Moving on to the bullpen, we have Luke Weaver as a setup man. I have no issue there. Luke Weaver had a good season last season in pinstripes for the Yankees. Actually, you had to be handed the closer job at some point in the season because Devin Williams just couldn't close it out in Yankee Stadium. But last season, Weaver 4-4 record, 3.62 ERA, 72 strikeouts. So Luke Weaver in 64 appearances, 64 and 2/3 innings, 72 strikeouts. Weaver very serviceable. I'm not upset with him as a setup man. I really don't have much more than that to say. Brooks Raley, another guy who was solid down the stretch for the Mets last season. Brooks Raley, we look at his last season numbers, a lefty arm out of the bullpen. And Brooks Raley went 3-1 in 30 appearances last season with a 2.45 ERA, 25 strikeouts, and 25 and 2/3 innings. Brooks Raley is a guy who lives up to the old saying. He plays up to the stats on the back of his baseball card. Brooks Raley has always been solid everywhere he's gone. I have no issues with Brooks Raley. I thought he was going to struggle last season because in 2024 he got afflicted with with Tommy John after only pitching in 8 games. Of course, Tommy John, not an easy thing to recover from, but Brooks Raley, a solid arm. He's going to be a guy that Mendy is going to go to in a lot of situations where left-handed batters are coming up to try to get the lefty-lefty matchup. Brooks Raley, always solid, always solid. I have no issue with him returning. And again, who better to go to in this bullpen in lefty situations than Brooks? Definitely not our friend who we're going to talk about in a little bit in Richard Lovelady. Also in this bullpen, he came over in the Freddie Peralta trade, would be Tobias Myers. Tobias Myers is a guy who could give you a spot start, or you can come out of the pen. We've seen it in Milwaukee last season. There were some times where the Brewers had to go with a bullpen game, and they started the bullpen game with Tobias Myers. So not a bad option there. He might be, granted, trading for Peralta is huge, but Myers may be the steal of that trade. Of course, we traded Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams for Peralta and Myers. Tobias Myers had a successful 2025. Tobias Myers, a flamethrower too. His velocity is very, very good. You look at Tobias Myers' stats last season: 22 appearances, 1-2, a win-loss record, 3.55 ERA. Not a high strikeout guy, 38 Ks in 50 and 2/3 innings. For his career, however, he's had 49 appearances, 10-8 record, 3.15 ERA. Myers, still a young guy, So, Tobias Myers, the sky's the limit. He's 27 years old. So he's still got a quality arm. This will be his third big league season. So, Tobias Myers, I like this kid a lot. I like what I saw out of him in spring training and Grapefruit League action. So, Tobias Myers, really, really good pickup. And then we go to one of David Stern's favorite players ever. We go to the human pinata himself, Richard Lovelady, who happens to also double as a run prevention specialist. So, Lovelady, the story of Richard Lovelady and the Mets. I'm going to pull up his transaction history here so I can tell you folks about what's going on with old Rich Lovelady. So, now mind you, last season, Richard Lovelady in 10 games, 8 of them pitched with the Mets, 2 of them pitched with the Toronto Blue Jays, who went to the World Series, thanks to no contribution of his. 0-1 record last season in 10 games, 8.49 ERA, 12 strikeouts in 11 and 2/3 innings. Richard Lovelady. This is his transaction history, folks. Richard Lovelady, signed by the Mets, June 23rd, 2025. June 25th, 2 days later, designated for assignment. June 27th, 2025, cleared waivers, sent to Syracuse. June 29th, recalled back up to the Mets. July 18th, designated for assignment. July 21st, cleared waivers outright to Syracuse. July 24th, activated on the Syracuse Mets roster. September 20th, called back up. September 25th, designated for assignment. Cleared waivers outright September 27th. Season already ended. Put on the minor league roster. September 29th, elected free agency because the season was over, 1-year deal. October 23rd, signed to a 1-year deal. January 22nd, designated for assignment. January 29th, the Washington Nationals claimed Richard Lovelady off waivers from the New York Mets. If you look at our first spring training vlog from February 28th of this year, you'll see that Richard Lovelady pitched for the Nationals against the Mets in Grapefruit League action. Then on March 10th, Richard Lovelady designated for assignment by the Nationals. March 14th, the Mets claimed Richard Lovelady off of waivers. And then he makes the team. He makes the opening day roster. Now, here's where I have my frustration, folks. You had Craig Kimbrell in camp, right? You had future Hall of Fame reliever Craig Kimbrell in camp. Probably one of the best closers in the last 20 years of Major League Baseball. So, you mean to tell me you had a guy who's led the National League in saves, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. A 7-time reliever of the year, a rookie of the year, and a World Series champion with the 2018 Boston Red Sox. You had this guy in camp. And you chose Richard Lovelady over him. Richard Lovelady, let me explain this again. Richard Lovelady beat out Craig Kimbrell. Now, again, I understand that Lovelady's spring training stats were better. Well, his Mets spring training stats in spring training were better than Kimbrell. But you can't even make that argument because in spring training this season for the Mets, he only pitched in one game. He pitched one inning, only gave up a hit, and threw 17 pitches. Meanwhile, he appeared in 4 games with the Nationals and had a 2.25 ERA. But again, I've said it before on this program. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Spring training competition is very uneven. Spring training is full of non-roster invites, veterans past their prime trying to cling on for one more season and get a roster spot. Prospects trying to impress team officials. It's uneven competition. And then you look at Craig Kimbrell, and we'll pull up his spring training. Kimbrell also in the same game that Lovelady pitched for the Nationals on our vlog. Kimbrell made an appearance. And we pull up Craig Kimbrell's numbers in the spring. And Craig Kimbrell in spring training with the Mets had a 4.50 ERA, pitched in 6 games, pitched 6 innings, gave up 3 runs on 4 hits. Fastball, I guess because he's older, fastball was topping out at 92. But this is a guy, you bring him on for what he could bring to the clubhouse. If he would have made the roster, he would have been the only guy in that clubhouse in Citi Field, not named Juan Soto, that can tell you what it is like to win a ring and to get champagne poured all over you in the clubhouse and to lift up the trophy and get a ring the first day of the season the following season. Yeah, outside of Juan Soto, nobody else can tell you that in that clubhouse. I mean, Lindor played in the World Series, but he didn't win it. Craig Kimbrell, 7-time reliever of the year. This is a guy who he can mentor a Tobias Myers. He can, when Devin Williams might get frustrated because he's blown a save or 2 in the last couple of games, Kimbrell can pull him to the side and give him a pep talk. But you chose Richard Lovelady. Now, granted, Richard Lovelady, 2.25 ERA in the spring compared to Kimbrell almost 5. But again, it's uneven competition. It's prospects, non-roster invites, aging veterans. Managers in spring training are not putting their best lineups out there on the field. And the World Baseball Classic was going on this year. So uneven competition. And you picked Richard Lovelady over. And kudos to Craig Kimbrell, by the way, because Kimbrell accepted a minor league assignment. He's going to start the season in Syracuse. Hopefully we see Craig Kimbrell at some point in Flushing. But the fact that Lovelady got the nod over Kimbrell, I would have rather Brian Hudson, to tell you the truth. Or even Ryan Lambert, even though he got sent down before things went down to the wire. But anybody but Lovelady. But I don't know what the love affair is between David Stearns and Richard Lovelady, but for all the trouble that Lovelady and the anxiety that he put us through in those 8 games he pitched for us, he better be worth it. Confusing decision nonetheless, but I hope to see Kimbrell up soon. Luis Garcia, solid hand. Huascar Brazoban is another guy. Started off last season, he and Reed Garrett started off last season on fire. You couldn't get a hit off of Brazoban if you tried. The All-Star break happened in second half game, and just like the rest of that Mets bullpen, everything imploded. And Brazoban was one of the chief suspects in that implosion. Which Brazoban are we going to get? Are we going to get the Huascar Brazoban that threw lights out and was a flamethrower to start the season last year? Now, Brazoban did pitch for Team Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic, and he had decent showings in the World Baseball Classic. So that leads me to believe that we, at least for the first half of the season, are going to see last year's first half Brazoban. But I think if Brazoban implodes again this season, or he just starts out like the second half form that he had last season, get rid of him. That's just my opinion. Brazoban, I'm very scared. They say life is like a box of chocolates. Well, Huascar Brazoban is like a box of chocolates. You never know which version you're gonna get. I would hope we get first half 2025 Brazoban and not second half 2025 Brazoban. But no, Huascar Brazoban scares me. Luis Garcia was a solid pickup. That one I didn't see coming in the offseason. We go to Garcia's numbers from a year ago. Luis Garcia, last season in the Bigs, pitched for 3 teams. Had a stint with the Dodgers, a stint with the Nationals, a stint with the Angels. Overall, last season, Garcia went 2-2 in 58 games, 3.42 ERA. Solid veteran, 39 years old. He's been in the league since 2013. Former Philadelphia Philly, LA Angel, Texas Ranger, St. Louis Cardinal, San Diego Padre, Boston Red Sox, Angel, Dodger, National. So Garcia has bounced around a fair amount. But he's a decent journeyman, a decent arm. I have no issues with Garcia being an arm that we could turn to every now and then. Garcia, another righty arm in that bullpen. And then comes Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea. Oh, my friend Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea, a key cog in the machine that was the 2024 Mets that got the NLCS. Some people say he was the ace of the staff with Kodai Senga down. But then 2025, he was injury-riddled, had that oblique injury to start spring training, and came back in July, right before the All-Star break, the last game before the All-Star break last season, where he blew the save against the Kansas City Royals. We can't forget that. But Sean Manaea, who, they interviewed him in the locker room after the last spring training outing he had when he found out that he would be in the bullpen. And like Marcus Stroman said in Tampa in the Yankee spring training last season, he said, I'm a starter. But no, Sean, you're not a starter. And you don't deserve to be one, because let's look at his numbers from a year ago. 15 games. He went 2-4. Out of the 15 games that he pitched, he started 12 of them. Had a 5.64 ERA, which is atrocious for a starting pitcher. And then we go to his spring numbers this season, because he didn't start camp on time again, because he's been rehabbing. He's been hurt. But this spring, he went 0-2 with a 3.72 ERA. He pitched 9 2/3 innings, and he gave up 4 runs on 7 hits. He walked 2, struck out 9. But Sean Manaea, you say you're a starter, you don't pitch like one. And if you think you're a starter, you're going to have to prove it. Now, Carlos Mendoza did say that Manaea would be, quote unquote, a piggyback pitcher, meaning he could get a spot start here or there, similar to the role that Dave Malicki played in the late 90s, early 2000s. He's a guy primarily in the pen, but he does have the capability to start if somebody gets hurt or there's a doubleheader and a guy needs to get pushed back. So Manaea is capable to start, but last season when Manaea did start, he barely went 4 innings. You couldn't even get a good 4 innings out of Manaea. And I'll be darned if I gotta hear just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us. That's his walk-up song, by the way, when he starts games at Citi Field. That's what plays as he warms up. But Sean Manaea, he signed a new deal. He was on a 1-year deal in 2024. This is the second of a 3-year, $74 million contract for Manaea. And if I'm Manaea, I'm going to treat this year like it's the contract year, because Manaea had a horrible 2025, excuse me. He had a horrible 2025. He's got to have a bounce back 2026. And My issue with him, you say you're a starter, but your performance is not starter worthy. And then you're upset because you're in the bullpen to start the season. No, that's what your performance got you. That's what your injury history got you. Be grateful you're still on the team. But Sean Manaea has a lot to prove this season. I personally, and I'm gonna just say it from the jump, I don't expect much out of Sean Manaea this season. I don't even know if he'll be on the team by the time September rolls around. So I have very little faith in Sean Manaea. If I was to see him at all at any point in this weekend series with the Pirates, I would be very concerned. And then we go to the starting rotation. So Freddie Peralta, who the Mets didn't have an ace after last season. We thought that ace was Kodai Senga, but it's not. Freddie Peralta going to get the start against Paul Skeens. More on that in a minute. But Freddie Peralta, he's the guy. He's the right guy to take the rock for opening day. No issues there. Very smart. You traded for the guy. All-star last season. Two-time All-star. He's a guy that David Stearns, similar to Devin Williams, David Stearns developed. David Stearns extended him once. He's looking for an extension now. He's in his walk year. In my opinion, they should have tried to get this done during spring training and not let Peralta enter the season as a free agent. But again, there's a video talking about his pending free agency on the YouTube channel from not that long ago. But Peralta, this is a guy I predict he's going to have a very strong year in Queens. I liken it to when the Mets acquired Pedro Martinez in 2005. Pedro Martinez, the previous year, won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox and didn't miss a step, did not look out of place or uncomfortable in Queens. So I predict the same for Freddie Peralta. He's going to hit the ground running. I expect at least minimum 15 wins out of Freddie Peralta this season. And then Nolan McLean, I know I was rough on the kid after his showings in the World Baseball Classic, but he's not going to face star-studded, all-star, legendary-type lineups up and down the major leagues outside of the Dodgers. So McLean should bounce back. McLean has retained his rookie designation. He pitched less than 50 innings last season, only pitched 48. So Nolan McLean is going to be a guy. He'll be eligible for Rookie of the Year this year. So if Carson Bench doesn't win it in right field, Nolan McLean has a chance to win Rookie of the Year. If we get the same McLean from last season, Nolan McLean is going to be great. I expect Nolan McLean to continue where he left off last season. David Peterson, a year ago, Peterson was an all-star. Granted, he was a replacement all-star, but an all-star nonetheless. The problem with David Peterson, he starts off the season strong and fades away as the season goes on. And I certainly believe he suffered from arm fatigue last year, as did Clay Holmes. But David Peterson, he's going to be a serviceable middle of the rotation guy. I expect similar numbers from Peterson this year to last year. But yeah, good third guy to have. Clay Holmes, again, now that he's gotten a full season as a starter under his belt, I think Clay Holmes is going to have a better season this season than he did last year. Primarily a sinker ball pitcher. He had a fair amount of strikeouts last year. Clay Holmes was a guy who started last year hot. Again, I believe he was overused, overworked, suffered arm fatigue toward the end of last season because when he started off great and faded down the stretch. But last season, in 33 starts, he went 12-8, 3.53 ERA. He is a pitch-to-contact pitcher, great sinker ball pitcher. Very happy with the season he had last season. Hopefully he can improve upon it. And then the fifth starter is Kodai Senga. Senga, who's been hurt the good majority of the last two seasons. I don't know what to expect out of Senga. This is a guy who last season got hurt and did not want to come back for the last week of the season because he felt he wasn't ready. Only God knows which Kodai Senga we're going to get. Another guy he's going to be the fifth starter, folks. The guy who was the ace of the staff entering the season last season. He had a good first half until he got hurt. And then he just fell off a cliff took a minor league demotion for a guy who was supposed to be the ace of the staff and just wasn't ready to come back when his rehab starts were exhausted. So, yeah, Kodai Senga, I don't know which version we're going to get. I doubt we're going to see 2023 All-Star Kodai Senga ever again. I mean, anything's possible, but I hate to be that guy, but Senga, I mean, he's going to be a fifth. As the fifth starter in the rotation, there should not be too much pressure. It's not like he has to be the first guy out of the rotation or the second or even the third. So low expectation spot or low pressure spot, I should say, for Kodai Senga. Hopefully Kodai Senga can bounce back to 2023 as he was hurt all but one start 2024, hurt the second half of 2025. So hopefully he can go back to all-star form. I personally think that opposing hitters and opposing teams have figured out the ghost fork pitch. I could be wrong, but yeah, Kodai Senga, I am ye of little faith for Kodai Senga. But again, he's the fifth man in the rotation. Not too much pressure. It's not a high pressure spot in the rotation. So we will see what happens. We'll go to the comments because I've seen comments coming in from Drew. I'm not ignoring you, Drew. I just want to get through all the points. Our good friend Drew learned 1 hour ago the Mets cut Barnes. So that leaves Hayden Senger, Kevin Parada, and Ben Rortved in AAA. Very interesting as Kevin Parada, that guy was supposed to be the next big catcher in Mets history, and he has yet to come up. Let's see. Drew learned, said he could be wrong, though. He says, let's option Manaea and Lovelady when Minter comes back from injury. That's a few weeks out. By then, Kimbrel would prove how easy AAA is. So those are two possible roster moves. Yes, Drew, they are. And I'm all for DFAing Lovelady. I'll give Manaea a short leash. And then he says, Devin Williams, thing with Queens and Bronx is so wrong. The Bronx, where the Yankees are, have a horrible negative fan base. I would also be terrified and bad if I had to play behind those fans. Hey, man, listen, the Yankee fans there. Let me tell you something shortly. Just because Drew brought it up, I'll leave the comment up while I talk about this. Yankee fans are some of the most obnoxious, classless, disgusting people I've ever met. They think they're better than everybody. They think their team is unbeatable. They deflected and made excuses when they lost in the World Series to the Dodgers in 24. They hated Juan Soto and acted like scorned ex-girlfriends because he left them for the Mets. So, I mean, hey, I wouldn't want to play there either because if I left in free agency, they'd hate me too. But mind you, they didn't hate Roger Clemens. They didn't hate Wade Boggs. They didn't hate Roger Clemens, by the way, faked the retirement so he could go and then came out of the fake retirement to get out of his contract with the Yankees to go play with the Astros the next year. So, yeah. Talk about people that should be hated. But yeah, they didn't hate Boggs. They didn't hate Clemens. They didn't hate Andy Pettit. So, but Juan Soto leaves and it's the end of the world. But all right, moving on as we reach an hour here on the Metropolitan Report. Tomorrow, opening day in Queens, Citi Field. I will be there. I'll be in the area around 10 a.m. Like I said, I'm already meeting up with a couple of people. If you want to meet up with me, we could grab a beer. We could talk shop. We could grab a hot dog. Anything you want to do. You just want to say hi. Message me anywhere there on the bottom. Anywhere there. Facebook, X, Instagram. Even message me on YouTube. Put it in the comments. If you are going to be at Citi Field tomorrow, the meetup is happening 10 a.m. We're going to meet up right in front of the stadium. We're going to have ourselves a good time right in the front entrance, the Jackie Robinson Rotunda entrance. I will be there with quite a few of you guys, and we're gonna have a good time tomorrow. We're gonna talk shop. Grab some food, and we're gonna pregame like we've never pregamed before. So if you want to hang out tomorrow, Citi Field, I will be there. Opening day, I'll be there live. We'll also be having a lot of live content tomorrow, so stay tuned to the YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. As we're gonna have content all weekend for opening weekend. I'm excited, and that brings me to the series preview. The Mets playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I know what you're thinking. The Pittsburgh Pirates. This should be an easy series. They finished in the cellar last season in the National League Central. Matter of fact, we'll pull up their record. The Pittsburgh Pirates last season in the NL Central finished 71-91. They finished 26 games back in the division. But the one bright spot is the only person that I believe we've got to worry about tomorrow, and that is Paul Skeens. The pitching matchup tomorrow is Paul Skeens versus Freddie Peralta. Paul Skeens is already in midseason form. Skeens had a great World Baseball Classic. ERA just over 1.5 in the Classic in the 2 starts that he made. But Paul Skeens last season, 32 games pitched, he went 10-10. Now, hey, some people are saying, oh, you're ranting about a guy 10-10. But he had a 1.97 ERA in that 10-10 season. Struck out 216 batters in 187 2/3 innings. Skeens was an all-star last season. Skeens all MLB first team last season. So, National League Pitcher of the Month in July 2025 last season. He was on the WBC All-Tournament team for this year's tournament. And let's not forget, he's the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner from a year ago. So we're facing the incumbent Cy Young Award winner tomorrow in Paul Skeens. Don't let this guy fool you. Paul Skeens is a guy that I'm afraid of. Paul Skeens, one of the most dominant phenom pitchers you'll ever see. Paul Skeens is a phenom. And we know how this Mets offense likes to start out. A lot of these guys, especially Francisco Lindor, like to start the season slow and pick up as time goes on. And he's got to run into Paul Skeens, the first pitcher he's going to face tomorrow. So this is going to be interesting. But fear not, because Freddie Peralta is opposing him, and Freddie Peralta is no Paul Skeens. But Freddie Peralta, we pulled up his numbers from a year ago. Freddie Peralta in 2025 with the Brewers. Peralta, 33 starts, 17-6, 2.70 ERA. He struck out 204 in 176 2/3 innings. What does that tell you? He's just as in today's game. Freddie Peralta he's the ace of the Mets right now from last year's numbers. Freddie Peralta last season, you look at his awards, all MLB second team, pitcher of the month, 1 month after Skeens won it in July. Freddie got it in August. He was an all-star last season. Resume not as polished as Skeens, but again, sure, the pitching is going to be good, but you look at this Pittsburgh Pirates lineup. I'm not intimidated. I'm not intimidated whatsoever. I mean, you look at they picked up Marcell Ozuna in the offseason. They have O'Neal Cruz, who has moved from the infield to center field. Spencer Horwitz, Brian Reynolds, the old man. Joey Bart at catcher, who's never been phenomenal. So this is not a lineup that strikes fear in my heart, other than outside of Ozuna and maybe Ryan O'Hearn, who they got to play first base. So Jared Triolo's a decent major leaguer. But I'm not scared of anybody on this Pirates club offensively. They traded Ke'Bryan Hayes mid-season last season to the Reds in the division. Yeah. it's the pitching that's going to be hard to overcome because again, Paul Skeens is Paul Skeens. So, but Freddie Peralta, I have confidence in the Mets. I think, and then we're going to win the series because past Paul Skeens, if we go to the projections here, the probable pitching matchups. So Paul Skeens versus Freddie Peralta tomorrow. Then we have Saturday. Mitch Keller versus David Peterson. You check off Peterson there. Nolan McLean versus Carmen Mladinsky. Mladinsky, 34 games last season, 5-8, 3.55 ERA, career 109 starts, 13-16, 3.25 ERA. I'm not afraid of that. And then we go to Mitch Keller, who was a name of the trade deadline people were targeting, but look at his numbers. 6-15. 6-15 last season. 4.19 ERA. And this is a guy I'm supposed to be afraid of. This Mets offense, at least Pacheco, Bichette, Beatty, maybe they will cook if Lindor can't. I'm going to give Lindor some slack because he just got back from a broken hand. But I ultimately predict that this Mets team is going to at least minimum take 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right, let's go to the comment section here. Drew Learnt says he cannot make it tomorrow, the opening day, but will be watching the game on the couch because he has baseball practice. But he hopes to see me sometime this summer at a game. Wants to know if I'm ever at Mets minor league games, which I do go to Brooklyn Cyclones games. So, Drew, if you happen to go to a Cyclones game and pull up, we could arrange a meetup there. I'm always good to hang out with Sandy the Seagull and see the future Mets of tomorrow. So, I'll be at a couple of Brooklyn Cyclones games this season. Not a problem. And then my good friend, host of the Carving It Up podcast, Bryson Carver. He's a Red Sox fan. I have no beef with him. Great guy. Had dinner with him and his family a couple of months ago. Great people. Carving It Up podcast covers not just baseball, but all of the major professional American sports. Check out his show. It streams on his YouTube channel and the Grid Network on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. He says, loving the new look on the show, my guy. Here's to a brand new season. Bryson, yes, I am very, very excited for this baseball season. I would love, Bryson, if you're still here, I'd love to have you on the show because the Mets do play the Red Sox at some point this season. According to the calendar here, the Mets and the Red Sox square off July 10th, 11th, and 12th for a weekend series. I will be there at that series, so I would love to have you on the show to preview that series. Again, check out the Carving It Up podcast on his YouTube channel. Bryson Carver does a phenomenal job. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That kid, the Carve Master, sure could carve up the context, I tell you. But predictions for the Mets this season. Now, of course, the Mets play in the National League East. Got to contend with the Atlanta Braves. Got to contend with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Miami Marlins, who a lot of people are saying are going to be sneaky this year. They're going to be better than what they are on paper. The Marlins always been the Mets' Achilles heel when things come down to the last day of the season. Just ask us about 2007, 2009, 2025. 2008 and 2008, the last game played at Shea, even though the Mets were out of contention already. Shea Stadium got demolished after the last game there was a Mets loss. But the Marlins going to be good. And then the lowly Washington Nationals, who have been stuck in a rebuild since the moment they won the World Series. But a bunch of young kids there. You look at these roster makeups. Of course, the Phillies, surprisingly, didn't add much of anything. They lost Ranger Suarez. He went to Bryson's Boston Red Sox. They re-signed JT Realmuto and they re-signed Kyle Schwarber, but they made no significant additions. They got Justin Crawford on their team, the son of legendary Carl Crawford of Tampa Bay Rays fame. But yeah, they lost a starter, and from the previous year they added no. They basically are running it back with the same exact team, which I don't know how that's going to work. They did win the division last year. The Atlanta Braves, they're a bit better in a bit better position this season to start than they were last season. Ronald Acuna Jr. missed early parts of the season last season. He's starting the season healthy. He just won the World Baseball Classic with Team Venezuela. They did lose Marcell Ozuna, and for the second consecutive year, Jurickson Profar busted for PEDs. Profar is going to start he's not even forget starting the season. He's out for the season. A 162 game suspension. That's a big blow for them. They did sign Robert Suarez from the Padres to bolster their bullpen. They're looking for another good season out of Chris Sale, hoping to get Spencer Strider back on track. You can never sleep on the Braves. And then again, I mentioned the Miami Marlins. They have Griffin Conine, Javier Sanoja just winning the World Baseball Classic with Team Venezuela. Kyle Stowers is going to miss the beginning of the season, but he'll be back. He was an all-star a year ago. So this Marlins club, Connor Norby, good power hitter. And then, of course, they have Sandy Alcantara, who a lot of people are deeming he's due in line to return to Cy Young form. They have Yuri Perez. So a lot of people thinking that they'll be better than they are on paper. And then the lowly Washington Nationals, a team full of young kids that need maturing, need to learn how to win. James Wood is the best player on their team. Phenomenal. I got to see him last season at Citi Field and again in spring training this year. They've got guys like C.J. Abrams, Dylan Cruz, Brady House, a great crop of young guys. Josiah Gray, who was a former Dodger prospect. Keibert Ruiz, the switch hitting catcher. So a lot of good pieces on the Nationals. It's just a matter of can they turn it into winning baseball. But yeah, the Mets, as far as where they're going to finish in the National League East, I think we have what it takes to win the division. Again, the Phillies running it back with the same squad. I don't know how you go into a season with no improvements. The Mets are 40% overhauled. But again, I like the additions of Bichette, Simeon, Peralta. Atlanta, I don't know how big of a blow Profar's suspension is going to be season long. Losing Ozuna, they lost some pop in the bats there. But I think the Mets, at worst case scenario, wild card team. I think the Mets definitely see postseason this year. The Mets are going to want to win. They want to wash the stink off of the end of last season off of them. Granted, a lot of the players who are on this team this season, like the Bichettes, the Peraltas, the Simeons, the Devin Williams, the Luke Weavers, they are not responsible for what happened last season. That a lot of those guys not here anymore, but they want to wash the stink of last season off of this franchise, off of this organization, and the best way to do that is by winning. The Mets early on have a very easy schedule. And hopefully this could translate to a lot of wins early on, only because Carlos Mendoza is in the final year of his contract and he's fighting for his job right now. Last season, 6 teams lost 90 or more games last season. The Mets play 18 games against those teams in the first 40 games of the season. Then they play 16 against them in the final 122. So a lot of disparity in the schedule. 8 teams are projected to win under 77 games. The Mets play 22 of their first 40 and 32 of their first 59 against those teams, including 15 in a row at one point in the schedule. They play 19 games against them in the final 103. So the Mets got to take advantage of this early schedule. Had they just won one more game earlier in the season last season, things wouldn't have came down to the last day of the season. Only 6 of the Mets' first 40 games are against teams that finished last season above 500. So aside from the second road trip of the season where they play the Dodgers and the Cubs, the Mets should stack series wins one on top of the other against the likes of the St. Louis Cardinals, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Minnesota Twins, the Colorado Rockies, the Washington Nationals, and the Los Angeles Angels. If they don't, there's not many chances to get right series wins, let alone homestands, the rest of the way through. So, once again, the Mets' easy schedule in the first part of the season, first 40 games, Mets should come out with way more wins than losses. Again, I'm predicting that they might be a wild card team at best. My official prediction, they could very well win the division, but I'm going to go ahead and say that they finish with the first wild card spot. So that's my prediction. If I had to give an over-under wins-losses for this Mets ball club this year, I'm going 86 wins. So I think this Mets team will get 86 wins. 86 wins would put us at 86-76 on the year. Good enough for a wild card spot, hopefully. But that's my prediction. 86-76, folks. If you agree or disagree, sound off in the comments. Speaking of the comments, let's check up real quick before we get out of here. Bryson, book me for July. Done. Drew Learn says he's disappointed in the Nationals for getting rid of all their players. If they were trying to build depth, maybe they would hold on to Lovelady and we wouldn't be in the Kimbrel roster spot situation. Really, really agree. I'm surprised they cut Lovelady, given the fact that a lot of their pitching and bullpen, like Mitchell Parker and Mackenzie Gore and all these other guys, just, human piñatas all around in that pitching staff. But, folks, this has been the Metropolitan Report Live. We are going to have a bevy of content. It's going to be content overload this weekend. Opening day tomorrow. If you're going to be in the house, let me know. Let's hang out, take a picture, eat some food, drink some beer, and cheer on the Mets as we try to get one of over on Paul Skeens and the Pirates tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow in person. We're going to have a lot of content throughout. And, I look forward to seeing a lot of you in the comments here at Citi Field at some point this season, if not tomorrow. I'll announce every game I'm going to be at before I go to the game, obviously. But it's been a pleasure to cover Mets baseball from spring training till now. It was a great experience going to Port St. Lucie to spring training this season. It was a pleasure to bring you all this content, all this news, all these updates, all these vlogs, and I'm going to continue to do so throughout the season. LFGM, let's go Mets, and God bless, and I will see all of you throughout the weekend until we come back with another full Metropolitan Report Live. For my good friend Drew Learn, thanks, Alfred, for all your support on my channel answering my questions. Enjoy opening day. God bless. Peace. Drew, you and I will talk as always. And everybody, thank you again for watching the Metropolitan Report Live. For those of you who missed it, I'm going to play the intro as the outro. So enjoy, folks.
Yeah, live from the city where the lights stay bright. Orange and blue, yeah, we reppin' all night. From the bleachers to the field, hear the crowd ignite. Every swing, every pitch, yeah, you know that's life. We don't fold, we rise, yeah, the energy loud. Queen, stand up, yeah, we do it for the crowd. Breaking down every play, every move, every game. Metropolitan Report, yeah, we hold it down. Talk stats, talk facts, yeah, we give you the truth. From the vets to the young, yeah, we cover the truth. If you bleed orange and blue, then you